On today's show, which famous actor will be battling snozwangers? Is everything still awesome in Legoland? And the Bumblebee trailer is here. Did it bring us honey, or is it like the end of My Girl? Movie Talk starts right now.
How dare you?
Woo! Referencing two of Rocha's favorite movies of all time, My Girl and the Transformers. That is John Steven Rocha. That is the newest member of the Collider staff, Mr. Jeff Sneider. Welcome, one and all, gentlemen, on a very exciting, very news-packed edition of Collider Movie Talk. I'm merely Mark Ellis. Today's show is brought to you by Rode Microphones. You guys can go to myroadreel.com right now and check out a very cool contest. It's the world's largest short film competition. This year, there's $1 million worth of prizes up for grabs. All you have to do is you make a 3-minute short film in any genre you like, and you make a behind-the-scenes video as well that showcases you using Rode products, and you could win big. The entries are open until July 31st, so go to myroadreel.com right now. Start making your movie, make some art out there, win some money. Isn't that what life's all about? Check out myroadreel.com. Well, we get to kick off with some breaking news today, and that would be the Lego 2 trailer dropped. It's called the second part, much to Copster's chagrin, not the second piece. And the movie came out and surprised me as soon as it started that we're in this post-apocalyptic wasteland where I remember the end of the last Lego movie, which I've seen a couple times, that everything is awesome, and that's how the movie ends. And then all of a sudden we're in like this Mad Max landscape, but we still have Chris Pratt's character, and he's still optimistic about everything, but the world around him has changed, and he has to save his people in a new dystopian future. Jeff Sneider, you saw this Lego movie trailer, and according to our pregame meeting, this was the extent of your viewing of any Lego movie materials. What did you think?
I think everything would be awesome, Mark, if I was 6 years old.
Oh.
Okay? Instead, I'm 34, and I'm just too old for a movie based on a toy Lego pieces. I'm sorry. I don't like the style of animation in these movies. I never saw the first film. I'm definitely not going to see the second one. I like the parking, the blinker joke here with Chris Pratt. There's always going to be some good gags here because of the team up at Warner Animation and who's behind this movie, but this isn't for me. Come on.
There's some good jokes in there. The animation style, I'll agree with you to the point. I would say that if you actually sit down and watch the movie, because the first movie that I saw when we watched the Lego movie was like, oh God, we got to put up with this animation. And I felt the same way with the Batman movie, but 5 minutes go by and I'm locked in and I don't care about the animation anymore. I'm having such a good time because the jokes fly so fast and so furious. Are we going to get that here, Rocha?
Yeah, it seems like we're going to get some jokes. Certainly there were some in the trailer that I enjoyed. Overall, I wasn't a big fan of the trailer. It didn't make me feel as enjoyable or as fun as the Lego movie did, and it had nothing to do with it being a dystopian film. By the way, I didn't know I was sitting with two animation snobs who have issues with the animation in this movie, who both own the South Park movie. So please don't talk to me about animation.
I like the
if you own the South Park movie. Yeah, please. This is not animation, okay? So give me a break. These are Legos, so they're going to look a certain way, and they're going to, and that's the way you would play with them when you were a kid. So the animation fits how people play with them when they were a kid. I don't know. People do build them. This has got a huge adult following. Legos do, because people build these massive things in their houses. So I wouldn't say it's for 6-year-olds, Jeff. But overall, I thought the trailer let me down a little bit. I was hoping to enjoy it more, and I didn't think we needed that joke. Like, I got the joke in the princesses joke in Wreck-It Ralph 2. That made sense. But this joke about Chris Pratt's character and, you know, like how Elizabeth Banks' character did all this stuff, and then they're still praising the dude.
He's the leader, yeah.
Yeah, that he's the leader, because he's an unassuming guy. He was never about throwing his weight around as a man. It was just the way it went down. So to have a kind of a bitter joke at his expense when he's just a nice dude, I thought was unnecessary. I got it in the Wreck-It Ralph thing. That made so much sense, but in this, it seemed surplus to requirements. That's what it felt like to me.
I'm sure that character is just rolling in the money that he's made in these two Lego movies. He's not worried about one crack in a weird Fury Road kind of future. But Jeff does bring up an interesting point that I think is going to divide a lot of people, is that are these movies for kids or are they for adults? What is the target demographic for this? Because a lot of the jokes you could see, like my nephew loves the Lego Batman movie. He watches it constantly, and he gets one set of jokes in there, and my sister, who's his mom, gets a totally different set of jokes. So what is this movie geared towards? Is it going to get everybody?
I think it will, and that's why the first movie did so well, because it was able to do that. Pixar laid the groundwork for things like this, that mixture of adult and child stuff mixed in, both to brings you back to a child, but also appeals to you as an adult. So I think it works, and the Lego movie will have some jokes that work for kids and work for adults. My concern, actually, with your question is, will the dystopian thing turn off some of the kids? And the fact that you turn a heart into a bomb, that could be read in certain ways. So that would be a little bit of a concern on my end.
Don't get me wrong. I have a lot of people, a lot of friends my age who enjoyed the Lego movie, who enjoyed the Lego Batman movie, that kind of thing. And I can't speak to the quality of these films because I haven't seen any of them. But we all see maybe 200 movies a year, close to it. That's roughly where I clock in each year. And you got to make some cuts. You can't see everything, and I can't make time to see Lego movies. I'm sorry. There's just too much other stuff out there. And I'm sure you guys make cuts too for movies that I see that you don't go see each year. This isn't for me.
This is not for you.
I think that we had to start on a negative note, Ellis.
I didn't. Hey, look, I mean, the trailer dropped, and I was excited to watch it. But I agree that it's a weird premise to take this movie, because we haven't seen a post-apocalyptic wasteland try to appeal to children since WALL-E, and WALL-E did manage to do that to a certain extent. Didn't really capture my heartstrings, but I think WALL-E's overrated too. But the Lego movie,
what is happening?
There's been diminishing returns with the Lego movies, at least at the box office, and as far as audience interest goes, because you had the Lego movie come out and shock people, and people were up in arms that it wasn't nominated or winning an Oscar, and it did incredible numbers. And then the Lego Batman movie came out. We assumed it would do the same, and it didn't quite do as well as people thought it would. And then the Lego Ninjago movie maybe got a little more marginalized because American audiences weren't as familiar with the source material. Right. So do you think that this Lego movie and this premise of the Lego movie is going to bring it back to prominence?
I'm not sure what the premise is. I'm not sure what the story is. Okay, that's why I go to any movie, whether it's animated, live action, it's for the story. I love animated movies. Like, I don't want to sit here and hate on an entire genre. I'm excited to see Incredibles 2 this week, but I don't know what the story is here. I couldn't make sense of it from the trailer.
Is that going to be an issue when it comes to audiences selecting to see a movie, Rocha?
Maybe, but the Lego movie's full of references. That's what was so good about the first one.
I didn't get a lot of those in this trailer, though.
Didn't you catch the Mad Max references? We
see Batman at the end. We see a number of characters, but it wasn't throwing a lot of stuff at the wall like I thought it would.
I don't disagree with you, and that's what was my issue with the trailer as well. I didn't think it quite had the same magic as that first movie and that first trailer for that first movie to get you into it. I mean, the Taco Tuesday joke, we've been making Taco Tuesday jokes for 20 years.
When does this come out?
And so, what?
When does this movie come out?
February.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No worries. I'm used to it, Jeff. We're the Taco Tuesday jokes and the dystopian thing. We're getting that vibe, but why is this happening? And we don't know who the villain is that takes her. Like, what's their goal? You know what I'm saying? So why are they doing the things that they're doing? We don't know. And so at this point, all we have is getting back acquainted with these characters, but we don't know what's going on. So I agree. I thought the trailer was a bit of a disappointment, to be honest with you, overall.
All right. Well, our next story is taking us into a world of imagination, courtesy of a young man named Jeff Sneider, who first reported on this story.
Hey-o.
It's a Willy Wonka story. I can turn it over to you right now, Jeff. Is that basically Warner Brothers is looking to cast any number of talented and famous actors in the role of a younger Willy Wonka in a movie that would take place before events that we've seen in either of the two live-action movies. It is very hard for me to say the two live-action movies because I consider there being one Willy Wonka movie and then there being some other thing that I would prefer not to think about. Who are the actors that Warner Brothers is looking at to play young Willy Wonka?
Right now, it's looking like Ryan Gosling, Donald Glover, and Ezra Miller, and that's three totally different guys who would give you three totally different versions of this character. I think that they would all be pretty interesting in their own right. I don't know if Warner Brothers is planning a musical element here, but obviously Donald Glover and Ryan Gosling are musicians. Ezra Miller, Warner Brothers has a lot invested in Ezra Miller since he is the Flash in the DC universe, and he's in their Fantastic Beasts franchise. This Willy Wonka movie hails from David Heyman, the producer of that Fantastic Beasts franchise, so he already has a relationship with Ezra Miller. I think they'd all be good, but I'd really like to see Donald take that on and just put his own unique spin on that. What about you, Rocha?
Well, I like the idea of Donald as well, but because it turns Willy Wonka into a James Bond character in essence, that anybody can play Willy Wonka, and Willy Wonka is not necessarily a person. It is different people being Willy Wonka at different times, and if it's a prequel, who knows what that leads to, if this leads to Gene Wilder or leads to another version of it. I just find it ironic that if Ezra Miller gets the role, it's once again something Johnny Depp did, but it's really Ezra Miller, like in Fantastic Beasts. It's a weird little twist where they were the same person. Spoiler alert there. But Gosling is an interesting choice because he does not necessarily radiate that vibe of a Gene Wilder Willy Wonka. And the reason people didn't like that Johnny Depp Wonka, amongst one of the reasons, is because they didn't like the way Depp was so leaning into the weirdness of it and losing the magic of it. And I don't know if Gosling is the one to bring us back to the magic. I feel like Donald Glover can do that like he did in Solo. He got us into the Lando feeling. And so there's a possibility here, and I like the idea of him being the guy, and I bet there'll be some Oompa Loompa jokes that have a little more layers to them than we would have seen before with someone like, or that we would see with someone like Gosling or Miller. That being said, Ezra might be the better choice all around here because of his age, because of his look, and because of his unknown quantity. So you can go in and see what he can do. And he was charming as hell as the Flash in Justice League.
I think the smart choice here is Donald Glover because you're right. It separates the character from the lore from what we've already seen on the big screen. So now we know, oh, this is not trying to do an imitation because people were very confused when the Johnny Depp movie came out. It's like, wait, is this just a remake? Is he going to try to be Gene Wilder? He wasn't trying to be Gene Wilder. He was trying to be his own person. I just didn't think it worked all that well. So Donald Glover is one pick. I think Ryan Gosling, because I look at Ryan Gosling and I see more the Gene Wilder character, and that's the Willy Wonka that I would respond to. Ezra Miller is an interesting. The problem I have with Ezra Miller is that he looks a lot more like Johnny Depp than any of these other guys do. So if you see Ezra Miller and he's acting weird and quirky, you might assume that this is going into the Johnny Depp version of Willy Wonka, where I think that the smart play with this movie is to separate itself from either one of the previous movies that we've seen.
So we're all picking different guys. You're going Gosling, Ezra, and Donald. Basically, that's interesting. Here's my question. Do you guys think we even need, leaving aside the casting of it, do you think that we need a Willy Wonka prequel? Do we need to delve into that backstory?
No, I don't think we need one, but I woke up ready to hate this movie. I woke up ready to hate this idea, and I just can't quite feel the dark side in my heart for this because I think it does make sense to make a movie like this, especially if you're going to separate it from the lore that we already know. Don't think about the Gene Wilder version. Don't think about the other version. Just think about this movie, and I think that there is a lot of fun to be had, Rocha.
Well, and I also think the people creating Paddington are doing this. So they're going to bring a certain magic and a childhood joy to this film that'll still be relatable to adults, but it'll have the same vibe as the first one with Gene Wilder. I don't want to let go of that one. I'm not going to let go of that one. I just recently discovered it only last year. So I love it to pieces. Wow. And the song, the imagination, all of that.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it was.
You only saw the Willy Wonka with Gene Wilder last year?
Something slip through the cracks of movie going at times.
But you saw the Lego movie. I'm glad you made time for that one.
Well, you got to make cuts, Jeff. So
you got to make cuts every year. Starting with Willy Wonka.
Get all cut Wonka
since the 70s. No, but I like that these people in charge of it are gonna. They understand the spirit of it, and Heyman's quotes were fantastic about what he wants to do with it. And I do think we need a prequel. I think nowadays in this time when there's so much division, so much anger, this idea of having us go back to being a child and thinking about imagination and thinking about the possibilities, because that film didn't pull any punches, that original. There are some real harsh moments with those kids trying to teach them lessons about how they are as people and how it can affect everyone else around them. So to me, I think this is the right time to do a prequel. I didn't want to see the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory version. I want this. This is good. This is why the casting is so important, because you want someone that can bring that magic.
Yeah, but you also you talk about how we want to feel like kids again and get rid of the division that currently exists in social media on movies. This movie is not going to do that. This movie,
you don't think so?
No,
it'll bring people together in the theater.
It's not going to. It might bring some people together, but it's also going to have a lot of people up in arms as to whoever you cast as Willy Wonka. Jeff, is this a movie that you feel like needs to be made?
No, and I think that, we just saw with Solo, I'm not sure that the filling in the backstory thing necessarily works.
That's an interesting point.
I think Willy Wonka should retain a little bit of an air of mystery, and again, I would just frankly like to see studios, particularly Warner Brothers, making more original films to begin with rather than relying on IP. However, these are three interesting choices, and so while I may not have yesterday woken up excited about a Willy Wonka prequel, these three guys have piqued my interest.
Yeah, it's not the first play that I would make if I was Warner Brothers and you just signed that deal with the Dr. Seuss estate to make a bunch of Cat in the Hat, remake that, and a bunch of other movies. If you have a director like Paul King who's excited to make kids movies and he did Paddington so well, I would have him work on another Dr. Seuss book than something like this. But if he's up for it and we get a casting announcement and people start talking about how this is going to be different than what we saw with either the Tim Burton version or the classic version, I don't hate it as much as I thought I would. So there you go. Our next story is for John Rocha and everybody who's a Transformers fan out there, and maybe even some people like me who wanted to be Transformers fans but just didn't like the crappy movies that were made. That would be the first trailer for Bumblebee, starring Haley Steinfeld, John Cena, and Bumblebee. The trailer came out, and it is sort of a prequel harkening back. It's the origin story of Bumblebee, or at least what Bumblebee was doing in the 80s, and a lot like other people in the 80s, he did not have a taste for Rick Astley. Rocha, did you have a taste for this trailer? You're a huge Transformers honk. What did this do for you?
Yeah, absolutely. It got me so excited, and because it was a different take on what we've seen before. It goes back to the roots of what a majority of people fell in love with Transformers doing, which is watching the animated series from the 80s. It went to the G1 kind of designs, a smaller Bumblebee. The Starscream is very familiar from what we've seen in the animated series. So if you're going to do a different take on it, you're going to listen to some of the louder fans, not obviously the ones that gave you $4.5 billion, but some of the louder fans who are unsatisfied with the movies overall, then this is what you do to bring them back into the fold. You hear them, you create this, it makes it feels like a smaller film too, even though it's got that still epic feel, because you have her standing on the beach or on the cliff and looking out in this wide ocean. That lets you know there's a big thing that she's got coming, but she's going to be strong enough to stand against it, her and Bumblebee. And you have this nice relationship between them. In a couple of moments, her stroking his hair, or stroking his face rather, and then stroking him in the water, his face in the water. So you have a friendship there, kind of a pet type of thing. I love that. And Cena comes in, doesn't say a word, but you know he seems like he's going to be the bad guy from Sector 7. We'll see how that plays out. But overall, I thought this is the perfect way to bring people back into the Transformers franchise who maybe had walked away after this last film finally, and give them something they want. So to me, I love the trailer.
All right, Jeff, Rocha is back up on the Transformers pedestal singing the praises. You ready to knock him down?
I know I am supposed to be the one who hates on all this fanboy stuff, but I just can't bring myself to do it. I think it looks great. I think this is exactly what the Transformers franchise needed to do. It needed to become more intimate and character-driven, and it needed to go smaller scale, and it needed to get away from a $200 million budget. Okay, I don't know what this movie cost, but I'm going to imagine it's clocking in around $80 million. I think if there's real profit to be made, this movie's coming out in December, so it's the first time a Transformers movie is going to debut outside of the summer. I think it's really going to work for it. Haley looks like great casting. I love when you first see Bumblebee transform. We've seen Transformers transform a million times. I love how the camera stays on her face and sees her wonder, like, you know, in the middle of all the metal claying around her. Travis, I'm glad that this isn't Michael Bay, that this is Travis Knight, who is, you know, comes from the animation world. I think he's going to be just the remedy that this franchise needs. And yes, I love the tenderness. I love when he just takes her hand and puts it on his face. This is a little bit different from the footage that we saw at CinemaCon, because I got a little bit of a longer glimpse there. But I love the 80s vibe to this. I'm excited.
Oh, listen to you guys coming together
I know,
over
it's crazy.
and I do like the Bumblebee character from the first Transformers movie. I thought that it was a very, harkening back to the experience a lot of people had when they turned 16, is you have this old beat up car and it becomes like your buddy. And then this is taking that to the next level, because Bumblebee in this trailer is the family dog. I mean, this is a very nice relationship that you see on screen. My question to both of you guys is, how much of the other Transformers, the other Autobots, the other Decepticons should be in this movie, need to be in this movie? How much do you want to see this tie in to either the other films or set up the new Allspark universe that Hasbro's aiming for?
I think it would be a crime not to have Optimus involved in here, but it's called Bumblebee. So it should be mostly Bumblebee and maybe one or two Autobots and one or two Decepticons. But that's it. Because if you're going to make a smaller movie, a smaller version of a Transformers movie, then this is what you want to do. You don't want to load it, like you said, $200 million budget. You also don't want to front load it with a bunch of Autobots and a bunch of Decepticons. Let it be a simple story. Let it be a story that maybe reboots, like they've been talking about, reboots the Transformers franchise, because it's set in the 80s. Maybe it sets us up to go back to present time when they release a new version version of that larger Transformers movies. So for me, I like that. I don't know.
I don't want to see too much connection to Transformers. I don't want this movie to labor setting up a future all-spark universe, whatever the hell that means. I want this to be a standalone story that gets Bumblebee to basically where we meet him in the original film with Shia LaBeouf. So yeah, I hope that they don't overdo it, including too many other robots.
And I hope they don't do the Star Wars thing, where Haley Stanfield is LaBeouf's like ancestor or something, like, you know, like
no,
like that kind of where she's like becomes like she's the grandmom or something, like, or the mom. I don't want any of that.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think you call them ancestors. You
well,
just call them aunts.
Yeah, sure.
But like this is what the lead of
I lived a long
Transformers.
time, is what I'm saying. I'm an old man.
This is what the lead of a Transformers movie should be. It should be a teenager, the same way we love Sam Witwicky, right? That was his name. Like I didn't need to see Mark Wahlberg palling around with a Transformer. I want to see someone who's a little bit amazed and in wonder of it. And I think she's a really talented young actress.
Yes, she is.
We'll see what she brings to this film.
All right, Bumblebee's starting to turn the tide, possibly for Transformers haters out there. Maybe they like a Transformers movie, and we all lock arms together as we walk into the All-Spark universe. It's going to have Transformers and G.I. Joe and Micronauts and Rom the Guy and the other and Power Rangers. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Let's just have a good movie with Bumblebee this Christmas. Movie comes out December 21st.
I want to ask you something, and I will say this, but if this movie comes out, people love it, but it doesn't make $1 billion like pretty much every other Transformers movie has.
It's not supposed to.
So we're saying it's okay if it doesn't.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It has to succeed relative to its budget. That is
right. Well, of course.
So if it makes $500 million, that's a win.
Okay.
It's a huge win.
All right.
I think it's a monster win if it does that, because again, you're selling it on Bumblebee. You're not selling it, at least from this
Optimus,
trailer, you're not selling it on Megatron popping in, or Optimus Prime popping in, or any of the original cast members, whether they're humans or they're robots from the other Transformers movies. This is a very smart play, because you're setting a movie up, and if we love this movie, it very easily ushers in a new era of Transformers. If we don't like this movie, it happened in the 80s, and now we can start over again with All-Spark Pictures.
Did you guys get a Chappie vibe at all? I liked Chappie, by the way. A lot of people don't.
No,
really
I did not get a Chappie vibe.
I thought Chappie was a great premise. I didn't think the movie was good at all. Okay. And I was rooting for Neil Blomkamp a lot. I like that dude, but I know
I like it more than most.
See a Chappie vibe. I see where you're going with that.
Okay.
I would go more with an Air Bud vibe.
It felt more like Herbie the Love Bug at the beginning, a little bit. That Lindsay Lohan thing, I had a little vibe. Oh, so you make time for Chappie, but not the Lego movie. Got it.
Right. Herbie the Love Bug, a movie many of our ancestors saw on the big screen. John Wick 3 is coming to theaters early next year. We have a casting announcement, and if you're a basketball fan, you're probably going to like this. Boban Marjanovic, the center for the Los Angeles Clippers, at least as of the time of this taping. Don't know where he's going to be in a couple summers, but he does currently play basketball for the Los Angeles Clippers. Will be playing an assassin in the movie. I love this news. This is so exciting. He looks like he actually seems like a very nice guy but he's very intense on the court, and I could definitely see him being an assassin in the John Wick universe. Coupled with this news is a official image that we got from the movie featuring Halle Berry, who is one of the many cast members in this movie. John Wick 3 is shaping up to be that closing of a trilogy, but I don't think that they're going to close the trilogy entirely. Does either one of either the image we saw with Halle Berry or the casting announcement of Marjanovic get you guys out of bed in the morning, or is this just okay?
It's kind of an okay to me. I mean, I'm going to see John Wick 3 regardless of whether Boban, whatever his name is playing an assassin.
Marjanovic.
You know, it's a minor casting, but it is cool for fans of the NBA like myself. The guy's 7'3". He has gigantic hands. I imagine that they're going to do something with those hands, whether he's fighting Keanu Reeves hand-to-hand combat or, just holding some gigantic gun. I think it could be cool, but I don't expect him to have a very big role in this.
Well, I don't think he's going to have a big role either, but I like the casting, because it's not this could have been stunt casting, and you can't cast DeAndre Jordan or one of the current centers now that are really well known. You went with a guy who's got a kind of Eastern European vibe to him. He's in great shape. He's got the large pronounced features on his face that look scary put all together, and so he's the right guy to intimidate. But for me, I really love that image of Halle Berry with the two German shepherds. I wasn't 100% on board board with her being cast as. I wasn't sure what they were going to do with it, but the shot of her holding those two German shepherds as she's walking down the hall from below is an awesome shot and lets you know she's going to be a badass throughout this movie.
What is the function of her? Like, is she a villain or?
I don't think they've said for sure
says
what
she's on a mission. I don't know what mission she's on, but I just know if she lets go of those leashes, whoever those dogs are attacking is in trouble.
Well, I mean, I grew up with a German Shepherd. German Shepherds are some of the smartest, most lovable dogs on the planet. The problem John Wick is going to have is if you run into Halle Berry and you're not friends and she's an assassin, you're trying to kill each other. John Wick, he's got to aim high because he's not going to take out a dog. Like, I think that's the reason why you protect yourself in a bubble of dogs, and that's the only way. If I was Marjanovic, I would just tape a bunch of pugs all over myself and just come running at John Wick because he's not going to shoot you then.
This guy looks like a Bond villain, doesn't he? He looks like a henchman. Which one does he look like? I'm forgetting.
Jaws?
Richard
Kiel? Yeah.
Okay, if the NBA was the John Wick universe. And you had,
someone did an article on this, by the way. I think it was Sports Illustrated. Said like,
really?
Yeah,
and you had one player that would emerge as like the John Wick of that universe. Oh. I'm taking Russell Westbrook. Who y'all got?
I think he is the exact right call. You took the word.
Because 100 miles an hour, doesn't really care all that much about his team. I think he's a better teammate than a lot of people give him credit for. But he, John Wick posts triple doubles nightly. You're not taking Westbrook?
I'm not taking Westbrook because Westbrook. No, because I think Westbrook can't win. Westbrook can't win. John Wick wins.
He'd get killed.
Yeah, he'd get killed because he would rush in too quickly without listening to his teammates.
Reckless.
He's a reckless player. So I don't think I'd take him. I would take Durant because Durant is smooth. He always seems to know the right moves at the right time, and he's got all the skill set, and he always gets himself out of any situation he finds himself in, and he doesn't surround himself with teammates who are nowhere near as good as he is.
And he's got history with Westbrook.
LeBron's watching this just steamed right now. This is bulletin board material for LeBron.
I think the answer for who is the John Wick of the NBA, the answer is not J.R. Smith. Sorry, J.R. Our next story is about Reese Witherspoon possibly going back to the Legally Blonde franchise for Legally Blonde 3. According to Deadline, there is a deal that is nearing completion that's going to bring back Elle Woods, and she's going to be re-teaming with the original producer, Mark Platt, and there's also going to be the original writers of the movie, and that would be both Kristen Smith and Karen McCullough. They adapted the novel for the first movie. The first movie was very successful, as was the second one. They went on to work on a bunch of other movies in and outside of the rom-com genre. With Reese Witherspoon in this incarnation of Elle Woods, it would tackle more of a modern-day approach to what the character is, what the character believes. Certainly speaks timely to somebody like her, a female who is empowering herself and other women around her. It would play today very well in this day and age, and I don't know that the movie is like a necessary movie to come out for a lot of people. I think there is a huge audience that would love to see another Legally Blonde movie. Are you amongst those ranks?
Yeah, I think so. Because it's been 15 years since the first one, I think, and so a lot has changed in our society. Hell, over the last 2 years, a lot has changed in our society. So Elle Woods seems to fit. She was one of these people way back then in her film who was saying, "Don't just judge me by my looks or think I'm stupid or things like." I got down to business. I studied. I focused. I became a lawyer, and then the second one, I influenced Congress. So, like, what's her next step? Is she a CEO now? What is she doing to empower? What are the things she's running up against? I just hope it's a nuanced story. It's an interesting story. Yes, you want to keep the elements of the fun, bubbly stuff, of course. But I wanted to say, if it's going to say something, I wanted it to say something that is deep and has something that resonates with people, that isn't just the surface stuff, this good, this bad. I want something a little more complex and interesting. And I think Reese Witherspoon, because of all the independent work she's done, especially Big Little Lies, the films she's been doing recently show that she brings a certain kind of level of intelligence to all these roles that she's taking on now. And I imagine, because she's going to be producing this as well, executive producing, she'll bring that to Elle Woods in a way that fits for our age now.
Jeff, did the Legally Blonde movies make the cut where the Lego movie did not?
So here's the thing. I did see the first Legally Blonde movie. However, I went to an all-male summer camp, all boys, and we'd go to the movie movies when it would rain. And so literally we took the entire camp to see Legally Blonde. It did not go over so well with 250 guys. So that was maybe just the wrong setting and time in my life to see that movie. As far as today goes, I think it is the right time to bring back this character to comment on the culture. However, if you're going to do that, you really should hire a female director. The first two films are directed by men. Robert Luketic did the first one, and Charles Herman Werfeld did the second one. There's so many talented female filmmakers out there. I think this is sort of the perfect opportunity for one of them, and so I hope that MGM does hire a female director.
The first movie made about $140 million at the box office. The second one close to that, 124 on a slightly higher budget. Is there a market for this movie where you guys see it breaking the box office the way the first two did?
Oh, absolutely. I think if it's done well and it appeals to what's going on now with the Time's Up and the Me Too and the female empowerment messages that are happening more powerfully in all kinds of entertainment, absolutely. I think this thing could make $300 million, no problem.
I think that is an outlandish prediction.
Sure.
I don't see
So was
this.
my Black Panther prediction.
I don't.
True.
Were those domestic or international? Worldwide?
Domestic, yeah.
I don't see that these movies doing quite as well. I think it's just tougher, you know, as it is with all movies that aren't like giant tent poles with visual effects and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how this movie performs, what kind of appetite there is. If you're asking me if I would personally like buy a ticket to see Legally Blonde 3 or even RSVP to a screening, the answer is probably no. And I say that with all due respect to Karen McCullough, my dear friend, and Kiwi Smith. I love them, and I'm sure they're going to knock it out of the park with the script, but this just is not for me.
No, you're right. That was the worldwide gross. The domestic gross for Legally Blonde, the first one, was just under $100 million. Okay. We move on to our last trailer, but before we get to that, I'm going to remind you guys at the end of this show, we're going to save some time for your live Twitter questions. Go ahead and start tweeting us right now at Collider Video. Use the hashtag Collider Movie Talk. Ask us anything you want under the sun. We go to the Wreck-It Ralph 2 trailer, which was supposed to drop yesterday in time for Movie Talk. It didn't, so now we get to talk about it today after everybody else has already thrown their opinion at it. I like this trailer. I just hated the fact that they put in that Disney princesses scene. You didn't get to see the whole thing. You didn't get to see most of it, to be honest with you, from this little trailer. But just to give that joke away when you had so much else you could have advertised just seemed like the wrong play. This trailer felt like it went on a long time, where it felt like it was a 5-minute trailer, where it was actually its running time was only a little more than 2 minutes. I like the trailer. I think it's got a lot of promise in there. I hate when movies give away too much when they don't need to, because I didn't think you needed to give away everything that is in Wreck-It Ralph 2. I'm sure their surprises are going to be in there. I think the premise alone of Ralph going into the internet, that sells this movie, and you didn't need to give away a lot of the other Disney-centric stuff that is factored in there. Jeff Sneider, you agree with that take, or you disagree? You love everything you saw?
You know, I liked it. I agree. It didn't look like a top level. This is Disney animation, right? It's not Pixar, is it?
That's Disney, yeah.
Right. It didn't look like a top level Pixar movie, but it looked fun. I enjoyed the first Wreck-It Ralph. I think the princess scene looked really funny. Whether they had to give that up so early in the campaign or not is another question. Again, they showed that princess's scene, an extended version of it at CinemaCon, and I thought it killed. It was one of the best things
we saw it at D23, and it crushed.
There's so many subtle jokes going on there. Pocahontas's like hair always, fluttering and stuff like that. I'm looking forward to this one. I think it's going to be fun. I really liked Sarah Silverman and John C. Reilly, that voice acting pairing.
Yeah, let me get y'all's take on this too, because I saw a lot of it's not backlash to the trailer, but it just felt like there was a lot of Disney selling itself in this movie. Is that just part of the joke that is necessary to make Wreck-It Ralph Breaks the Internet possible? Or do you think it was too much of, hey, we're the company making this movie, so we're throwing everything that is Disney at you, Rocha?
I didn't have an issue with it at all. I mean, because everyone complaining about it, and same people that go, hey, watch me on this, look at me on this, listen to me on this. You're promoting yourself too. There's nothing wrong with it. They're showing what they've got. They're going out there. They did Snapchat. All that other stuff was in there as well. So there was a number of things that were there. And then you saw the Stormtroopers. So Disney owns a bunch of stuff. Why wouldn't you want to see it in the movies? I got no problem with it. And it didn't affect me in any way, shape, or form, because the story is based on Ralph and Vanellope. That's what it's about. That's your connective tissue in this film. And it's their friendship and their love for each other that carries you through this other stuff. If you're caught up on that, then I don't know what to tell you.
Guys, go on the internet. It's not just movie theaters that Disney owns. They own the internet. Go on the internet. You can't. Everywhere you turn, there's a Marvel piece or a Star Wars piece. So if this was made by a different studio and you had different, references in there, I don't think it would work as well. But the truth is, these are the biggest brands in the world, and so they did technically belong in a send-up of the internet.
Yeah, this idealism crap about this stuff is like, come on. And to me, it's just enough's enough already. Like they're promoting themselves. They have a right to promote themselves. They've done well for themselves. They've bought these things and put them in motion and brought us a lot of joy for decades. So if they're putting something in the Wreck-It Ralph to show what they're going to confront, what they're going to go through, okay, but it's not like the whole point of the movie. The point of the movie is this relationship deepening, Ralph getting exposed to the internet, what he discovers, and her taking her through, or her taking him through this thing. But that's what I liked about this trailer, is that we saw more from Vanellope's point of view, whereas the first trailer was all about Ralph being like out of place, a fish out of water through the whole thing. We have Vanellope guiding him through this through everything that's going to happen, and so I enjoyed it.
Did you guys see the rumor about Mario?
Oh.
There's a rumor that Mario may appear in this movie.
Nintendo very cagey with the rights to Mario after the Super Mario Brothers movie that came out in the early 90s. Yeah, I'd always be up for a Mario reference in Wreck-It Ralph. I mean, it's you talk about like it's hard to go on the internet and avoid Disney. It's hard to think about video games still for an entire for multiple generations and not think about Mario. So you would think that Mario, not just Mario, but also maybe some Tecmo Bowl characters. Was Bo Jackson Tecmo Bowl in the first Wreck-It Ralph?
Yes.
I got to go back.
I don't know, but they called me the Jewish Bo Jackson in high school.
Okay.
That was
Did they really?
Oh, yeah.
Was that at the all-boys camp?
Yeah, something
where you
like
got that moniker?
I would much rather I'll take this sequel over the Lego movie sequel any day of the week.
You know what?
I will take this. Go ahead.
You set up the basketball game. Set up the football game. I'll show him if he's Jewish Bo Jackson.
I can't play football.
Okay, I've seen the knee brace that you wear. Sometimes you wear it, sometimes you don't. It's kind of like that Brady Bunch episode where the guy was suing the Bradys and he had the neck brace and it wasn't really. Is the injury real or not?
The injury is real, but it depends on if it's raining or not. It's a trick knee. It kind of like backs up.
Trick knee. You're officially of the age of a trick knee. All right. Well, good thing you're sitting down for this next story. It's not really a story. It's just us talking about how excited we are to be in Las Vegas at the end of the month at amazing Las Vegas Comic-Con. Collider is proud to announce that they are the exclusive media partner for amazing Las Vegas Comic-Con. It's June 29th through July 1st. We're going to have some panels there. There's going to be a movie talk panel there. There's going to be celebrity interviews, full event coverage. You can go to collider.com for everything that's going to be breaking at amazing Las Vegas Comic-Con. Plus, I'll be on hand. A number of our other Perry Nemiroff's going to be there. Dennis Zen is going to be there. John Schnepp's going to be there. I don't know if Rocha and his trick knee are going to be there to meet in person or not. You can actually look at the trick knee and see if it works like Bumblebee when he turns into a transformer. So check out, make sure you guys are staying tuned to collider.com for all the latest coverage from Las Vegas Comic-Con. And also next week is E3. If you're a big gamer out there, if you've heard of Mario or Tecmo Bowl, video games have evolved a little bit since then. So E3 has all the latest and greatest as far as breaking news and play of video games that are debuting, and we are going to be covering that on our new channel, Collider Games. So make sure you guys are subscribed to Collider Games here on YouTube. We're going to be doing a lot of news, event coverage, that sort of thing. And last but not least, myself, I will be in New York City this weekend doing shows at New York Comedy Club, and then Saturday I go to Connecticut. Fairfield Comedy Club just opened, and I'll be not doing the grand opening, but I'll be there doing stand-up for one night, June 9th, so you guys can get tickets right now at my site, markellislive.com, and use the promo code SCHMOES. Jeff Sneider, you've been here 2 days. How's it going so far?
It's great. I get to just sit right across from Rocha and stare into his dreamy eyes and sit next to Perry, who's been such a help onboarding me and getting me up to speed and everything, and hope to start writing a lot more.
What is your actual designation here?
I am the news director of Collider Video, but I imagine I'll be wearing multiple hats. I'd like to dip my toe in the awards waters perhaps this fall. Anything Frosty needs on the .com, I'm there for him. But obviously, this is my priority, and we're gonna try to break some news on camera right here at this desk.
I like it. Well, hey, you're one for one with that Willy Wonka thing, so thank you very much for that. Keep us posted on which one of our casting choices is actually going to play Willy Wonka, if it's anybody, in a movie that we don't really need, but I don't actually hate the idea of. We move on to live Twitter questions that closes out here on Movie Talk, and our first question comes from an old favorite, Christopher Woodburn. He says that, say that Sylvester Stallone had sold the rights to the Rocky franchise and was not Rocky. Let's say Stallone did not play Rocky way back in '76, would that franchise still have become as iconic as it is today with a different actor? What do y'all think?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask which actor, who would we cast as like a new Rocky?
You can cast a Rocky if you want back then.
John's like, that's blasphemy.
Yeah. There's nobody who could have played it back then. Sorry.
So you don't think back then. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
In '76, yeah. Is there any other actor that would have been in? I mean, the story alone, look, we love underdog sports movies in general, so it's hard for me to see. I think Rocky would have been successful as a standalone movie. It's hard for me to see it spinning into the franchise that it was.
Yeah, what other 70s stars as relevant? Like, you couldn't have, like, Burt Reynolds as Rocky and then still think you're going to get Creed 2 this fall. Like, that wouldn't have lasted.
Well, that's what I mean. People come at a certain time. Stallone came at that time. He wrote it, so he had a very personal attachment to the project. I don't know if the legend is true that, like, he refused to sell it unless he could star in it. There's been a lot of conflicting stories about that, but it's a great Hollywood story. And the reason he kept it going as a franchise is his personal point of view about the Rocky Balboa character, and it worked through a bunch of sequels, and 3 and 4 are beloved by the fan base. 2 is beloved for the fight because he finally wins it, but 3 and 4 is beloved. 5 you can get rid of. People liked Balboa. I didn't 100% like Balboa, but Creed is an incredible comeback. Why is that? It's because of Stallone's business acumen, Stallone's knowledge of the business as well, and his ability to create, to make the character fit for what's happening during the time. So
means that he's maintained control.
Exactly, and that's important because he knows what he's doing.
Who would you cast though today if there was a remake announced tomorrow, remaking Rocky from the start? Who's your Rocky Balboa, Ellis?
Man, that's tough. My Rocky Balboa, I mean, you think of people who have been good in boxing movies recently. Tom Hardy was really good in Warrior. And I think that he could kind of pull off that underdog kind of vibe. But like Rocky Balboa had a sweetness about him too. He had like a pet you almost want to adopt kind of thing that you just don't see in a lot of tough guys. So I don't think that I think that you can make a successful standalone Rocky movie. I just don't think as a franchise it would have worked the same way.
Yeah, no. If you were to remake it now, I don't think it would work at all. I think the timing of it back then and the innocence back then, even though we were coming out of Vietnam or we were knee deep in Vietnam in '76. It's of its time, and I don't think you could do it now. To be honest,
do you think Bernthal would make a good
John Bernthal? No,
I think Bernthal would he'd make a great Rocky. You know who else would make an interesting choice as Rocky would be Liev Schreiber, who actually played Chuck Wepner in a movie recently. Very good version of Chuck Wepner, who is the boxer that Rocky is loosely based on, and Chuck Wepner was actually suing Stallone for a long time for the rights, and it's better than it got.
I watched it on Saturday a few weeks ago, just randomly. I really enjoyed it. Elizabeth Moss is great in that thing, and who plays the girlfriend at the end? Emma Watts. Yeah.
Naomi Watts. Yeah.
Naomi Watts. Yeah, she's great.
Somebody with the last name Watts. Okay, we move on to Terry McGinnis, and he says, since there's no chance Hugh Jackman returns as Wolverine, do you think we will not get a new Wolverine until the X-Men franchise reboots, or would you like to see a new version of Wolverine in films that are upcoming, either X-Force or X-Men Dark Phoenix? What do you got, Rocha?
Terry McGinnis, a.k.a. Batman Beyond. Listen to me, kid. There's no way Hugh Jackman doesn't come back as Wolverine. I'm telling you right now. I have a feeling that man will be, once the merger goes through and they back up that truck of money, my man is going to do it one more time, either in a Deadpool movie or in an X-Men movie to launch as a kind of maybe a flashback sequence. He'll be there in some way, some shape, some form. There's no way Hugh Jackman is done playing Logan, in my personal opinion. And I would like to see a new Logan, although the people they've thrown up so far, I'm not interested in at all. But certainly they'll recast once this merger goes through with Disney Fox, if it goes through.
I think that's insane.
Sure.
I think he's absolutely done playing Logan.
Okay.
I think if he were to play Logan again, it would literally take away from the Logan movie. Like that is almost practically a masterpiece, Logan. I think it's excellent. One of the rare comic book movies that is. And if he played that character again, it would really be a slap in the face to that film's legacy.
But Logan itself is out of time. It's out of time, so it's not necessarily canon.
Time travel, canon, these are all fanboy geek words.
How dare you, sir? How dare you?
I don't like. I hated all the time travel stuff in the X-Men. I don't care about X-Force.
No.
Hugh Jackman, let it go.
I'm not saying time travel. I'm saying the Logan story itself is set in the future, so it's out of time from continuation. And you know they mess around with time all the time in the X-Men movies, so it's certainly possible for him to come back. And I think he will.
I hope Hugh does not do this.
I think the only way you would see Hugh Jackman play Wolverine again or play Logan again is if it was in a Deadpool movie as a quick joke.
Sorry, it's like I burped. I burped, guys.
You
I
had
had
to Chex Mix.
He's frothing at the mouth
from the mic and burp. I feel like it would be like, LCD Sound System doing their big farewell tour, and this is our last show ever, and then 2 years later, they're selling tickets again.
Well,
that's what it would be like.
Unfortunately, rock bands do that all the time.
Yeah.
Like Kiss has
and
been
it's
on
annoying.
Retired
It's
100
annoying.
times.
So I hope Hugh Jackman doesn't do that.
Cher has done 70 retirement tours.
If they don't cast Tom Hardy himself, and it's probably be hard because he's already Bane, now he's Venom, and it's a lot of comic book stuff. I hope that they look at John Krasinski. I think John Krasinski would make a pretty good Wolverine.
Interesting. I don't 100% see it. But.
I'd go back to Bernthal for that, and then I'd
he'd be great for everything.
Krasinski is Rocky Balboa. I'll put in Krasinski in the Rocky Balboa slot. And I'll
get punched in the face.
Yeah, Bernthal as our new Wolverine. We'll see if we break that scoop one day. Our last question comes from Nick Leitner, and he says, "Happy Tuesday, Collider! With the new trailer for White Boy Rick that just debuted, what is your favorite Matthew McConaughey movie since The McConaissance?" I'm going to date The McConaissance, as I've been on record as saying, as the release of The Lincoln Lawyer.
Okay.
I'll give you the movies. It's The Lincoln Lawyer, Bernie, Killer Joe, The Paperboy, Mud, Magic Mike, Dallas Buyers Club, The Wolf of Wall Street, Interstellar, Sea of Trees, Free State of Jones, Kubo and the Two Strings, Sing, I'll throw that one in there, Gold, The Dark Tower.
I loved him in Gold.
Is this movie or performance? Is this movie or performance?
Performance, obviously, right?
I'll go performance, yeah.
Okay.
Then I would say Interstellar. I love Interstellar. Look, Gold's a great movie. It's an underappreciated movie. I enjoyed that movie. But Interstellar, his work in Interstellar, to carry a almost 3 hour Christopher Nolan movie and make it interesting and appealing and that controversial ending to sell it to at least half of the audience that watched it, I think is incredible. And it shows a humanity to him that we hadn't seen in any of his other films before as completely realized as it was in Interstellar.
I mean, you just running down that list of movies, he has had some impressive performances in that run. Man, Dallas Buyers Club is great. Wolf of Wall Street's great. I really like Gold, too, and he is solid in Interstellar, but I may go with a dark horse pick here and go with Magic Mike.
Cool.
I thought McConaughey was really good in that movie. He did, he went above and beyond what that character sort of was on the page. I really liked him in Magic Mike. That's my vote.
If Magic Mike was the movie that Jeff Sneider and his All Boys Camp had gone to see, it would have been a totally different summer, and we'll never know that alternate universe. I want to thank my cast joining me today. Mr. Jeff Sneider, welcome to Collider, my good man. Happy to have you. Mr. Trick-Knee, John Rocha, thank you so much for joining us. I am merely Mark Ellis. We will be back tomorrow with a brand new episode of Collider Movie Talk. Throw it to the wide as we say goodbye. See you at 9 p.m. a.m. PST. I got to work on that time thing. Hey everybody, Mark Ellis here. Thanks for watching this episode of Collider Movie Talk. You want to watch more? Then click up here, or you can click right here for more great content from Collider. And if you haven't subscribed to Collider Video, do so right now and share this vid with your friends. Thanks for watching.